Today, I'm going to speak about working with the subconscious, with the inner child. And I am going to approach this by talking about various methods that I imagine people use and that I use. To me, what is most basic about working with the inner child is that you're connected to something bigger, such as being with a therapist who can create such a connection with you with such compassion that you feel a connection with something larger, like divinity, like creator. So anything, whether in your own meditation or you're in a place of such stillness and connection with all, and you're connecting to your inner child, to me, that is what brings healing. That the adult is in a space connected to love with a capital L, connected to divinity, however it is expressed, and the child is touched by the adult's connection. So that's kind of my broad approach to this. So if you're in meditation and you come to stillness and feel connected to everything because you're part of everything. And if you think about your inner child and bring whatever memories, whatever triggers, belief strategies into the space of your feeling connected with something, the greater being, then healing can happen. So that's how I want to start before I just talk about specific methods. I imagine that there are meditations that are offered on YouTube where they might be able to take you to that place of stillness. So you are so very present because in the present, everything is, life is, and presence with a capital P is. So if those meditations can bring you to that place and connect you to the triggers, beliefs, pain, strategies of the inner child, you can heal the childhood wounds. From my point of view, the conscious effort that you can make, on the other hand, such as appreciating how you're being affected by the inner child in the triggers or seeing a belief or strategy, and you say, oh, an inner child is here and I want to connect. That's a beautiful beginning, but it's only a beginning. Next, I want to talk about using the space of imagination to connect with your inner child, which is something that I do, something that I've written about in my book, Listen to the Cries of Your Heart, which contains an inner child process, which I created. So, what I am going to do at the end of this is to guide you through a process like that. So, you have the opportunity to connect with your inner child. Now, how much healing is done with this inner child process depends on you, depends on your capacity to be in that space of imagination wholeheartedly. Be present to the inner child you meet, knowing how to be there, and being compassionate, which is something the bridge that you can have to connect with the inner child so that she will be brought into that space of healing, that presentness and compassion has as its possibility. So this is my connection to the subconscious, the imaginal space where healing can happen. And as I say that, I remember the phrase, only love heals. The deepest love connection you can make, divine love, is what heals. And that is kind of the basis point that I'm making here. Now, the process I want to introduce you to, called MAP, Make Anything Possible, is how I have been trained to work with the subconscious. This is a method that came from a book by Gary A. Flint, who was a clinical psychologist working with what he thought was the most difficult population to bring to healing, and that was dissociative disorders, in particular, people who had been tortured by satanic cults and similar cults who put people through, children often, through such torturous experience that their only mechanism is to dissociate. And they dissociate into alters, personalities that take over so the original personality can survive. Three Faces of Eve is a book and a movie that describes the personalities in this process. In any case, what Dr. Flint did was he talked with the subconscious of his patients. And in conversing and learning from the subconscious of these patients, he learned how the memory structures work and how healing is possible at the deepest level. This constitutes the methods in his book. Theory and personality, I think, are the beginning words, but Dr. Gary A. Flint will get you there. If you learn the method through the book, you have a powerful way of healing. I fortunately didn't have to study the book intently, but took training through the MAP Institute, MAP, Make Anything Possible, where we were trained in Dr. Flint's methods. So we know how to train your subconscious to become superconscious because we recognize that once trained, that part of you is divine, connected to the divine. So it's superconscious. And because of its nature, healing is possible on so many levels, and especially with trauma parts, with child parts, because this is what MAP is can do so very well. So that in a MAP session, for example, I would ask, what is your agenda today? And whatever issue, whatever memory, whatever belief or strategy we work on, I get as much information and stir the memories of the client in this particular issue or topic. And then at the end, I do a MAP session where I ask permission to command their superconscious mind and then ask the superconscious to do a massive change history in terms of what we're focusing on. So that's a brief expression of what MAP is. And if you have questions, ask them in the comments. So now I want to put you through the inner child process that I use described in my book. So this begins by kind of a meditative transition. So first, close your eyes, as I will, and begin to pay attention to your breath. Feel the air moving in your body that is your breath. Because when you focus on your breath this way, the next breath becomes deeper. So you can now feel the air expanding your abdomen, bringing in more oxygen, oxygen that is needed by every cell of your body to regenerate and maintain. And so keep watching your breath. You invite the relaxation in and the alertness of your thinking mind so that you can move into the space of imagination. Even if you can't fully get there, pretend. Because in some ways, that's what imagination is, pretending, letting go of the concrete reality that you know, the cause and effects that reality that we know lives by. In this space of imagination, anything can happen. So I want you to meet with an inner child from age, say, 2 to 6. So when I say, think of a number, whatever number comes to you will be the age of that child. So begin to imagine what this child looked like. It's the hair, the clothes, what's on the feet, whether they're necklaces and bracelets, and the expression on the child's face. Again, if you can't see it naturally, make it up. You've seen pictures of yourself at that age, or if you haven't, just make up what you think she or he looked like. And that's plenty good enough. So I am going to guide you to gently approach this child, not to startle, but becoming visible gently and letting them know that you're their adult coming to be with them because you know in their heart they feel very alone and you're here to give them a different experience. So say what you can to quell any fears, to address any fears with your smile, your gentleness, your gentle gaze. Be as compassionate as you're able to be and as present. Be there in this moment. And then begin to communicate words like, I'm sorry you've been hurt. You are not to blame. You are innocent, pure and good. But all these moments of hurt where your needs were neglected, unattended to, hurt you. and created so much pain that you separated into trauma parts with beliefs that were limiting, such as I'm not good enough, and created strategies where your needs are not met, but the desperation and fears in those moments of pain drive you, the child, the teenager, and the adult. So with you to address your sense of being alone. And have any conversation that comes out of your compassion with this child. You might ask, what can I do for you? If the child wanted to be hugged or jumped into your lap, hold the child closely. And stop the tape at this point or the video at this point to spend more time with your child. But when it's time to leave, you tell the child, if you need me, let me know. Send me a sign and I'll be back. So gently open your eyes so you can be present to this moment. Breathe deeply and release. Breathe again and release. So this was a longer video than usual, but I hope you feel that is of value. Ask any questions in the comments, and thank you for joining me.